The silence costs millions. Prince Andrew defies U.S. Congress. Why does the ex-Duke prefer scandal over testimony? The political game and the hidden truth. You won't believe this. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the emotional evasion of the ex-prince amid mounting U.S. congressional pressure. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor was called upon by the U.S. Congress to testify regarding his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, but the former prince missed the deadline to respond. This refusal to comply is not merely a diplomatic snub, it is a profound manifestation of the psychological evasion that has defined his handling of the scandal, prioritizing the protection of his already shattered public image at all costs, even if it guarantees heightened global scrutiny. Pressure for Andrew Mountbatten Windsor to testify over his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein reached new heights in recent days when U.S. lawmakers sent him a letter asking him to provide evidence. But what could come of the investigation over in the States? The intensity of the legal and media pressure exerts an immense emotional toll on the former Duke, forcing him to confront the potential for an unparalleled public humiliation, even after having been stripped of most of his royal standing. The psychology of exile, privilege lost and the weight of shame. Andrew's association with the late financier Jeffrey Epstein has triggered a fall from grace that is institutional, financial, and deeply personal. King Charles blocks brother Andrew's bizarre request that costs £32,000. This public denial by his own brother to cover a bizarre expense symbolizes Andrew's emotional isolation and the cutting off of privileges, a direct blow to his identity and sense of entitlement as a senior member of the royal family. The former Duke recently relinquished his royal titles and honors and agreed to give up his 30-room mansion, Royal Lodge, after scrutiny over his connection to the late pedophile ramped up. The forfeiture of Royal Lodge, a residence that is not just property but a potent symbol of his lifelong privilege, represents the physical loss of his emotional safe haven. Leaked emails earlier this year showed that Andrew had misled the palace and public on exactly when he cut ties with the disgraced financier. This revelation of deceit fuels public mistrust and emotional outrage, demonstrating a perceived lack of remorse that has been universally condemned. Then further shame for the royal family came with the release of Virginia Gifford's posthumous memoir, Nobody's Girl. The Epstein victim, who tragically died by suicide this year, accused Andrew of sexually assaulting her 3 times as a teenager, claims he vehemently denies. The posthumous publication of Giuffre's testimony adds a layer of profound grief and tragic drama to the narrative. The victim's death by suicide heightens the emotional focus on Andrew's alleged culpability, making his sustained denial seem even more emotionally detached in the face of such deep human suffering. The burden of prominence. Why silence is his defense mechanism. It also emerged that Andrew is the most mentioned British name in the bombshell cache of 23,000 Jeffrey Epstein-linked documents handed to the U.S. House Oversight Committee by the Epstein estate. While a name's appearance does not imply any wrongdoing, Andrew's prominence dwarfs every other UK figure and underscores how deeply his downfall became entwined with the Epstein scandal. The sheer volume of mentions, far exceeding any other UK figure, is a stark, quantifiable piece of evidence of his extreme proximity to Epstein. Psychologically, this prominence emphasizes the deep level of immersion and the significance he placed on that friendship, a perceived obsession that now serves as powerful circumstantial evidence in the court of public opinion. The U.S. Congress recently called on Andrew to provide testimony about his relationship with the convicted sex offender, but the 2-week deadline that was set by them has since passed without a reply. The psychological aftershock of the car crash interview. The House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform contacted Andrew by letter, as part of their investigation into the late disgraced financier, his sex trafficking network and how authorities handled the case. However, Andrew was not legally obliged to provide testimony. The decision to ignore the request, while legally prudent, is widely viewed as an act of profound emotional cowardice. Silence has become Andrew's primary tool for avoiding confrontation and the risk of further self-immolation. The last time Andrew publicly discussed his friendship with Epstein was in 2019, when he sat down for an in-depth interview with the BBC, which was widely dubbed a complete car crash and saw him swiftly step down from royal duties. The lingering trauma of the 2019 car crash interview, where his perceived lack of empathy and disastrous legal reasoning damaged his reputation irrevocably, is undoubtedly the core emotional driver behind his current stonewalling. The anticipatory anxiety of potentially reliving that media catastrophe, even via Zoom, is likely the key psychological factor fueling his refusal to engage with U.S. lawmakers. Andrew swerved another occasion in which he would have been forced to answer questions about his ties to the sex offender in 2022, when Virginia Giuffre brought a civil case against him in the U.S. Andrew settled with Giuffre out of court, reportedly for millions, but the settlement did not include any admission of guilt for the allegations she had made, which he has consistently denied are true. This costly out-of-court settlement reveals the ex-prince's willingness to pay any price to escape the emotional turmoil and legal risks of a public trial, underscoring a strategy centered on extreme self-preservation, regardless of the perceived ethical implications. The political firewall: why U.S. partisanship protects the ex-prince. Two Democrats who sit on the committee calling for Andrew to testify issued a scathing statement condemning the ex-prince's silence. Ranking member Robert Garcia and Congressman Suhas Subramaniam said, "Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's silence in the face of the oversight Democrats' demand for testimony speaks volumes. The documents we've reviewed, along with public records and Virginia Roberts Giuffre's testimony, raise serious questions he must answer, yet he continues to hide. Our work will move forward with or without him, and we will hold anyone who was involved in these crimes accountable, no matter their wealth, status, or political party. We will get justice for the survivors." This statement from the Democrats is a moral and political challenge, emphasizing the stark contrast between the ex-prince's wealth and the relentless pursuit of justice for the survivors. Their condemnation aims to activate public outrage, using Andrew's defiant silence as a symbol of elite impunity. And now a U.S. political expert has told the Mirror that despite the desire amongst Democrats to hear Andrew's testimony, Andrew could continue to refuse any further requests made, even if they came in stronger terms than the letter he has already been sent. Let us not forget that it is principally the Democrats on the House Overnight Committee who are calling for Mountbatten Windsor to testify, although a few Republicans have joined them, explained Professor John E. Owens, from the University of Westminster. So, if there is sufficient political will on the committee, a bipartisan majority could issue a subpoena, going beyond the simple letter they have sent already. And they might agree to Mountbatten Windsor testifying by Zoom. Professor Owens' analysis introduces the intense political dimension, revealing that Andrew's ability to defy Congress is contingent on a complex web of U.S. domestic political factors. Mountbatten Windsor would probably refuse whatever request is made, which would then leave open the possibility of the Congress ruling him in contempt of Congress, although the U.S. Constitution does not explicitly grant the Congress this power. Given the political stakes at issue here, and House Republicans' fealty to Trump, who may be damaged further politically by Mountbatten Windsor's testimony, it seems unlikely that the whole House would issue a contempt order. If they did, it would be down to Trump's politically subservient Department of Justice to prosecute Mountbatten Windsor. Which is not going to happen. The implication of the Department of Justice and the political landscape suggests that fear of domestic political fallout, rather than strict legal interpretation, is what ultimately shields Andrew from stronger consequences, confirming his ability to leverage his international status to evade accountability. The expert acknowledged that there could have been a different outcome if Andrew were a U.S. citizen or resided in the U.S., but as it stands, he has the ability to swerve the questioning from Congress. New shadows: the police probe into alleged victim smearing. Last week, Prime Minister Keir Starmer weighed in on whether Andrew should agree to speak to the House Oversight Committee, saying that whilst he wouldn't be drawn on the specifics, as a general principle I've held for a very long time is that anybody who has got relevant information in relation to these kind of cases should give that evidence to those that need it. Prime Minister Starmer's statement, though carefully worded, reinforces the moral obligation for Andrew to cooperate, an emotional weight the ex-prince appears determined to shrug off. It comes as the Metropolitan Police said last month that they will be investigating after it was claimed that Andrew had given Gifford's personal details to a royal protection officer, allegedly requesting the police officer dig up dirt on his accuser. 2 officers have reportedly been questioned already, and the Independent Office for Police Conduct has been contacted by the Met over the issue, but they have yet to refer themselves officially to the watchdog. The opening of a new police investigation in the UK into the alleged misuse of official resources and the potential smearing of an accuser adds further grim complexity to Andrew's legal and emotional quagmire. This action suggests that while he may be able to sidestep the US Congress, the sustained pressure from his own Metropolitan Police over the alleged abuse of power concerning a royal protection officer may be the final legal trigger that forces him to confront the consequences of his actions. The circle of his emotional and legal isolation is tightening around him, leaving him nowhere left